to introduce Mr. Phillips to you also. He's going to just say a few words, and thank you very much for coming.
Pleasure, thank you. Wow.
I've been to Bloomfield when it's been bouncing, you know, so I know what it's all about, and it really is exciting, you know, the thought, the prospect that 2 weeks today you're all going to be at Bloomfield Road. We're not quite there yet. I think we're going to be.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be. We're not quite there yet. I met a lad in the shop last week. He's probably in here, same age as me-ish. And the enthusiasm and he was bouncing about. And he can't wait. He hasn't been for 4 years. And the hairs on the back of me, a bit like now actually, on the back of my neck and goose pimples. And I was thinking, wow, there's thousands of people like that. There's thousands of fans out there, and here you all are, and many more. And then I met a couple of lads in Subway.
Could have bought mine for me.
I want a nice team off you. 99, please. So, and again, you know, their enthusiasm, and you know, we're going to go to Accrington with a big following, and then Southend 2 weeks today. It's so exciting.
So are we.
And it's sort of just those couple of meetings, Sunday or in the meetings, just chance. I walked in the shop, I met this fella, I walked into Subway, these couple of supporters are saying what they're saying. And I feel your pain, you know, I understand, you know, football clubs are all about the fans.
Yeah.
They really are, you know, and totally understand why you haven't been coming. Simple as that, you know. And it's going to be great now when you can come back and we can all unite together. We appreciate the fans that come away. We totally understand the fans that have been staying away. You know, there's total respect there. And if we can come together in 2 weeks' time against Southend and the place is bouncing, and who knows what we can achieve, you know, between now and the end of the season. So exciting times, I really do believe here at Blackpool at Bloomfield Road.
Make them sensible ones and short and to the point, if that's okay. So I might have to avoid Afro Man, just at the same time. No singing today. Anybody got any quick questions for Terry? He's only here for a short period of time. Hands up.
Hi, I'm Warrington Branch at BST, the only member. Just like to say, Terry, it's been a long, hard slog for us all. We've all wanted to be there. We've not done this out of... We've got rid of him, that's the main thing. All I'd like to say for you is on the 9th of March, I'll be there to give you my 100% of support, like everybody else. I'll be pushing for you to try and get to the playoffs, but believe you me, I've been sick and tired of pushing a bleeding Tesco's trolley around for last one. And it's that afternoon. Welcome back.
Not really questions, just statement of the team. Whoever takes over, you've got to keep you as manager. That's it, full stop.
Here's Lee all the way from Haywood. Go on, Lee.
Right, it's a quick one for you regarding the 12 points. I'm just wondering if you've had any communication with the EFL and any more input of what their thoughts might be on that as the manager, you know, hoping that you might have heard something. Thank you, Terry.
Yes, can you hear me?
You've got to press the button on the bottom of the microphone, so the one will come on in.
Yeah, you got me now?
Oyston Gremlins.
I think from what I can gather with the 12 points, it's the discretion of the EFL. I think the other clubs towards the bottom 10 would have a say in it. I think this is an unusual receivership. It's not your normal where, you know, the players and the staff actually get paid. So it's a bit different. And in the end, we don't know, because if it's down to somebody's discretion, then it's down to somebody's discretion. We just don't know. So we just have to wait and see.
Try this one, Terry.
Is that better? So it's really down to the discretion of the EFL, and whatever happens, you know, if it's against us, we'll fight it, and if we don't lose any points, then we can, you know, hopefully, as I said, we'll push on, and with your fantastic support, hopefully we can do something.
Great.
One down in the back. There's a school of thought which thinks we should have a 12-point award.
Yeah, my question is, it's actually for everybody here who's running gaff at the moment. There's a lot of people not as fortunate as me. My dad's still alive. I've got a son and a grandson. When we have this match at Southend at home, can we not have a minute's applause for all those people who are not as lucky as me, whose loved ones have passed away in the last 4 years?
That sounds like a fantastic idea. Yeah, really, we can do that. We surely will.
Alex and Tans Branch here. Most of us haven't seen Tangerine playing for many years. Briefly, can you tell us what to expect from a Terry team?
I think, you know, I owe a lot to Gary Bowyer. I come to Blackpool to work for Gary Bowyer. I've worked with him before. He's not just my friend, you know, I've got total respect for him. And so I've learned everything I've got really off Gary. So pretty much the same as what you'd see off a Gary Bowyer team. I think honesty, hard work, good lads who've got ability, and we demand that they put a shift in. We make them demand off each other, and I think we've got, you know, for the money we pay compared to some of the others, I think we've got a really good squad, a competitive squad of lads that are going to go out and put a shift on. You know, and I think most footballers across the land, if the team goes out and gives 120 to 50% every week, then he'll put up with that.
Matches are running out of this match. So you might
just a quick one from me. When you go back today and you go in the changing room, so we're not going to be there, but not in the changing room. But what's your team talk going to be after being here today?
Well, I think, as I said, part of that, the package was honesty. So we're always honest with the players. You know, some players won't even make the bench today because we've got a few back from injury, and that's not the nice part of the job. I'll have to be telling them where I've just been, but they'll know anyway. They'll all know, and I'll tell them. You know, it is so exciting what in the future now for Blackpool, for all of us. You know, for the town, what it's going to bring back. You know, meeting those people last week, and the buzz, and just the electricity that's in this room now. You know, if we can bring that to Bloomfield. But we'll tell the truth, we'll be honest, and I hope that inspires them today to go and get the 3 points today as well.
batteries have run out, so if there's any more, you're going to have to shout. Project your voice. No, Neil's on the top of the bus, isn't he? What's that? Have we got any more questions for Terry?
Got one.
Just there. Yeah.
Stand up, just ask. Obviously, Gary left. We don't know the reason why. Okay, we can't ask the reason why. You've done an absolutely, totally amazing job. Brilliant, beyond. But would you want Gary back within Blackpool?
Jump on that. I think I've just told you, what I think about Gary. I own a lot. I was his assistant at Blackpool when we come to Bloomfield Road. And as I say, in the future, I'd love to work with Gary again. I can't speak for Gary either. I think I know why he left, but I can't speak on his behalf.
Okay. Would you give us an idea of why?
I think you know why, don't you? I think you know why you're all sitting here. So I think you all know why. But I've never asked Gary that question, so it's just my personal opinion. But I'd like to work with Gary in the future, that's for sure.
I think you did a fantastic job, and I don't think anybody in this room wouldn't want you as a manager of Blackpool for as long as you want to stay here.
Thank you.
Terry.
I got something to say. You've done a great job. All what you say at the club. I'm glad Ollie's gone, and I hope we get into playoffs.
Thank you.
Any more folks, or are we going to let Terry go?
Can we send him a message from us? See.
Well, last thing from me, hope to see loads of you at Aki, and then in 2 weeks today at Southend. That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was great. I'm not sure how we follow that. All the energy in this room is absolutely amazing. So, well, we've got everybody's attention. And before we go on to discussions about the court receiver and that, can we just have a little think about the 9th of March, assuming that we definitely are back then, we think we will be. We want ideas for how we're going to make this a celebration. I know some people want it low-key, some people want marches, some people want, brass bands, I don't know. Yeah, definitely jelly and ice cream. So just throwing it open, I know it's difficult because we haven't got a very good mic, but has anybody got any really fantastic ideas of what we can speak to the receiver about and see what we can achieve? I'll give you the first idea that we've been given is that BST sponsors the first match ball for that game, and then of course we get to keep that ball, and that can go in the museum that we're going to have one of these days. This will be the first Oyston free game, the homecoming. So personally I think that's a great idea, and I hope that you agree. Any other ideas? We've had the thing about people who have passed away and then maybe having a minute's applause. What other suggestions have we got? What do you want to see?
I think a lot of us would like to get back into the north because we were put in the south.
Well, I prefer to go back on the top. I don't know about anybody else. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, the suggestion there was that we get back onto the north. Boot out the visitors, they can go on the east. I think that's already been put to the receiver, to be honest, but again we'll add that to the list of suggestions.
There's a question coming in on Facebook now and talking about ticket prices and could we have a set ticket price that would be a reasonable, £15 or something like that?
Ticket prices is definitely on the list to talk to the receiver about. Obviously I can't say what it's going to be. There is an interim phase here, and set prices, particularly for things like season tickets, will have to be thought about very carefully because new owners coming in will have their own ideas. But yeah, that's another great one to be on the list.
Still on the subject of season tickets, also about the idea of a part season ticket to take to the end of the season. Part season ticket.
Right, okay, part season ticket can go on the list. It has also been suggested that children go in for free with an accompanying adult, so that's another one. Gentleman here?
I was just thinking it would be good if we, as many of us could meet up together and walk to the ground together.
Yeah, so sort of somewhere like JD1 where we all met at the Bloomfield in the little car park and then just walked up Bloomfield Road. That would be very symbolic.
Like sit down.
I think we should meet outside the next course.
I'm not sure we can add that one to the list. At the back.
Do you think that all the people that did land from the parks back in?
Sorry, I couldn't quite get that.
Yeah, everybody who's been banned can go back in. Providing they haven't got a football banning order from the football authorities, we think, yes, we could negotiate that. We'll certainly try.
Thank you.
Okay. Karen?
Anyone would like to ask about it? You have the man here who can tell you all about it.
Ah, right. Mr. Lewis. We have here the Gary Lewis.
Come here in the seasons, loads coming to the pitch, years and years and years. We try to get to the bottom of them with not a lot of budget, if any.
You only sit under it.
Involved as best they can, keep updated with everything. But I'd just like to say that everything I'm doing was to get the pitch properly for Terry. It's been a great improvement over the last couple of weeks. So I managed to get a bead on it. I just want to bead off a friend of mine. Then we've got renovation going on at the end of the season, hopefully, with there and Squire. So, any other questions?
You found the old rug money under the pitch.
Right, thank you anyway. Thank you.
Can I just suggest that when we go back next year, for season ticket holders, we start from the same level. I don't want those people who went in to be, if you went the band A and we're not.
Decisions about season tickets and that obviously will be a thing for new owners. What we've got to do, and it is a tricky one, and there's no point in trying to avoid that. It's a very tricky situation that we've had. We have got to look forward though, all of us. We've got to unite now and put all these horrible years behind us and come together for the good of the club. So I'm sure there will be room for all, and that's one that's got to be talked about definitely. Any more ideas?
Can we invite Gary Bowie to the game and show our appreciation?
Absolutely. I think there's a number of people that we would like, maybe not the first game because it depends on availability, but I think some of the Clifford Chance team are quite interested in coming to one of our games. So yeah, a list of potential VIPs and people who have helped us, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there's going to be an opportunity to say thank you to a whole lot of people at half time at that game.
It's going to be a long half time.
Do you chance we could have something for the salespeople or the cover or something during the winter time?
I think there's just so much that needs to be addressed, and that's definitely on the list. I mean, over these years where we haven't been going to games, we've been putting plans together and thinking about things, so we've got lots of ideas to discuss, but that absolutely needs to be at the top of the list.
Sorry, we didn't hear the question.
It was about disabled facilities and particularly having a cover, because I know you get very exposed to the elements. It's almost like being on BST duty outside. Okay, if anyone's got any more ideas, please keep them coming. You can email Chairman, Secretary, Deputy Chair. We love to have your emails. We're passing everything on to the receiver. We've been absolutely overwhelmed with the wonderful suggestions and offers of help. So keep it coming because, you know, we've been fighting for this. This is our club, and now we're in a position to start getting involved in it again. So it's fantastic. So thank you. I'm now going to ask Tim if you would like to just talk us through the actual court action or the hearing that happened last week, just with the implications, etc. I know there's been lots said about it, but from somebody who's in the room and who knows what he's talking about, I think, I'm sure you'll be interested.
Well, fantastic turnout today, by the way. It's very gratifying. It's been a long, hard fight for us all, and it's brilliant to be in this room today. You know, you can see the emotion in Terry's face from the side here, and I think we're all desperate now to get back. My role today is really just to try and make sure everybody understands what's happened. I think we're actually, as a fan base now, quite educated when it comes to legal proceedings. Probably more educated than we are on the football in some respects. Hopefully that's going to change, and hopefully we're going to get back to the point where football attendance is important, not court attendance. But nevertheless, I think it is important we all fully understand where we're at and where we're going. I don't want to dwell too much on what actually happened in the hearing, because that could take an hour in itself. The interesting bit was that it was quite heavily contested. When we turned up, we were expecting the hearing maybe to last an hour. Instead, it lasted 6. And there was essentially 2 reasons for that. One was that there was a big issue over whether Valeri and his team had done enough to actually try and enforce the judgments by other methods. So essentially, the court was looking to see what they'd done already and why they couldn't just go for the auctions, use the bailiffs, seize monies in bank accounts. And what it boiled down to in the end was that the court wasn't convinced with the evidence in relation to the non-football assets. So as we saw, the actual order didn't attach to those. Valeri can, despite what some people might think, Valeri can still proceed with enforcement against those assets. He's just got to do it as he normally would do, by order for sale, by auction, and by whatever other method he thinks is appropriate. With the court receiver, which is a very unusual, I mean, I've been in the job 30 years and I've only ever been involved in one court receiver appointment, and that was by consent, so we didn't have this dispute over whether this should go in or not. And what it really turned was, the judge had to be persuaded that there was a hindrance, was the word that was used a lot, a hindrance that prevented Valeri and his team being able to effectively affect the sale of the football and its football club and its assets by usual methods, just by going for an order for sale. And probably one of the most interesting points from most of the people in the room here was how much emphasis was placed on the boycott, because both sides referenced it and the judge referenced it, and he essentially concluded at the end that Owen Oyston himself was the hindrance to the sale of Blackpool Football Club. His presence at Blackpool was the hindrance, and that's what tipped it. So when we look around the room and we look about this, people listening in who stood firm, have done what they think's right, we can give ourselves a little bit of a pat on the back, because that actually had some effect at the end of the day. Whether we'd have made the order anyway, we'll never know. But most certainly, it took probably half an hour of the discussions centred around what the impact was. Owen was saying, I'll take the burden of trying to sell Blackpool Football Club forward. And obviously the evidence was that he hadn't done much about that over the last 15 months. But importantly, it was about the receiver, if he was appointed, being able to present Blackpool in the best possible light, with the best possible chance. And the best possible chance of being able to achieve the objective, which is the best sale price that they can. So that was, for me, that was, because it's been tough, hasn't it? The last 4 years have been extremely tough. We've heard about people who've even passed away while this has been going on, and that's an extremely sad situation. And we also have children who've never been or can't remember having been. And I think you can all think, you have played your part. And hopefully, when we return 2 weeks today, we can start channeling all the negatives that we've had over the last 4 years into a positive there. Turning to the receiver and what that actually means, a couple of points to remember. He's not Valeri's man, he's the court's man. He's court appointed and he reports to the court. So if Owen and his entourage start messing about, which I think we can assume that they already have and will continue to do so, he can go back to the court at any stage and get guidance about what he should do and how he should do it. So, but he is independent. I think he's said as much to Matt when he's done his piece in the paper today, and that's worth a read to anybody. The one on Friday and today. Paul Cooper, he's called, for those who don't know, does set out in quite a lot of detail what he sees his role to be. And effectively what he does is, he sits as the shareholder. So he effectively almost like piggybacks onto the existing shareholding and says, I'm now the person who everybody has to answer to. What he's not going to do is run the football club. You will not see Paul, beyond the next few days, you will not see Paul Cooper running the football club pending its sale. What you'll see him do is appoint somebody to do it. Now, none of us, and hand on heart, none of us know who that's going to be at the moment. It's been kept confidential. It's likely to come out on Monday, and it remains to be seen who that is. All we've been told so far is he thinks we'll be pleasantly surprised by the quality of the appointment that's coming in. And that's as much as we know. No confidences on it of anything of that nature. So that's what you're going to see. You might see some familiar faces from who've been involved in Blackpool in the past. We don't know. But there's probably going to be at least 4 new board members. Now, from the point of view of where this is at the moment and where it be going, it's easiest probably for me to sort of break it down into phases. So the first phase came with the appointment last Wednesday. Now, as we all know and we've all heard, appointment and taking control are 2 different things. The first thing that had to be sorted out was the fact that the order had to be changed because it didn't attach to all the assets as it was originally intended to. It attached to what Marcus Smith called football assets. But that's actually slightly misleading, because it's not just the football assets, it's everything that was in what was Suggestor and is now Blackpool Football Club Properties Limited, the holding company. So that's the football club, that's the stadium, that's the Squires Gate, the Travel Lodge, which obviously brings in quite a significant amount of income, and also the wedding venue in the Quirmore Hall in Chopper Bowland. So they're all assets that Paul Cooper has authority to sell effectively. and the priority from his perspective is to raise enough to pay Valerie Bellicon back his £25 million. So the order only actually got perfected, as they call it, in legal terms, which means put in a format that the judge can stamp on Wednesday. So that's why we had saw this very quiet period between last Wednesday and this Wednesday, and that was because it had to be changed, and of course you can guess it was left to the absolute last minute for the representations to come in from the Oyston side as regards the amendments, and I think in effect the court put a time limit on it, and when that time limit expired, that's when it got stamped. So it's only with effect from that point that Paul Cooper's officially appointed. And there's obviously been lots of talk on social media about, well, why can't we go back this Saturday? Surely the money's not going to go to the Oyston family. And this is where the phases become quite important, because pre-appointment and also for the first 2 days of this week, we're in what I would call the information gathering stage. So what Paul's done, and he started on Monday, when he came up to Blackpool, he's already fairly knowledgeable about what our situation is. He's been sat in the background, I think, for 3 months, he said, and he's been making sure that he was as well briefed as he could be. But there's nothing like being on the ground, speaking to people and finding out what the situation is. So he's in the information gathering stage, as I call it, auditing stage, an accountant would call it, I think. And what he's done is, he started off, he's come to Blackpool, he met Christine and I on Monday morning, and we gave him information that we felt would help him. It wasn't about BST, it was about what we knew about the situation at Blackpool, who we knew, what we knew of the staff, what we knew of the setup, what we could do to help him. So we had a preliminary discussion with him on the Monday, and then after his appointment was confirmed on Wednesday, he then arranges to go into the ground, and his first action is to find out what's gone on, because this football club and all its assets have been owned by one family for 30 odd years, in some cases I suspect longer as well with some of the assets, and as it was said in court, it's a rather opaque situation. But that's not unusual. It's a family company. They can, from their perspective, they can run it any way they want. From our perspective, one of those assets is a community football club, and they can't run it the way they want. And obviously the judge ultimately has agreed, because of the investment of Valerie Bellicon, that the way it's been run isn't right. So it's important to remember that when he's in that information gathering stage, he's not in physical control of the club. He's not in physical control of the bank accounts. He's not in a physical situation where he can make decisions. He is appointed, and it's almost like a little bit of a breathing space before the practicalities start happening, which I think we'll see very quickly early next week. So, beyond meeting myself and Christine, he also arranged to meet with Matt, and obviously the articles you've seen in the Gazette are a reflection of that meeting. He's also, as Terry I think has already said, has met with Terry. He's also met with other members of staff, and he's also, as I understand it, asked the Oystons to cooperate in providing financial information. I did say ask. I did say ask. I think it's reasonable to assume that the level of cooperation is going to be very low, and that we're used to it, aren't we? We're used to the way the Oystons operate, and we've got to be prepared for the fact that they're going to have to be dragged kicking and screaming out of this football club. So we're still in the information gathering stage, and I should add actually that Paul, and he has a PR person working alongside him called Paul McCarthy, who also met with various fans groups on Thursday evening. That's not been widely publicised at the moment at Paul's request. It's not a case of anybody keeping secrets, but he did specifically ask on Thursday night that not be raised and people didn't put reports out. Because again, it was about him introducing himself to people and letting them know what his plans were. He has authorised me to say today, hence the reason why I'm mentioning it, because I specifically asked this morning if I could, because he has said he was going to meet with various groups, and he has done that. And the initial groups he met with were representatives of BST, not Christine and I. Stephen Pauling went, drew lots as to who went, because everybody wanted to go, but he wanted to limit it to 2. There was 2 representatives of the TKs, 2 representatives from the Muckers, and 2 representatives from BSA. No FPG representation. I believe they weren't even mentioned, from what I can gather. We did go, well, they might have struggled that, they might be. But it was a case of, we didn't mention the fact that the FPG are there, because obviously he needs to be aware of the situation, but we've heard nothing further about it. I mean, they have updated the website with the results, so somebody's still pressing some keyboard button somewhere, but we'll see. So when it comes to buying tickets at the moment, because we're all here thinking, when can we start? The number of messages I've had and through Twitter and Facebook, and I'm sure it'll be on BST is the same. When can we go back? When can we buy tickets? Phase 2 is where that happens. Phase 2 is when he takes, well actually it's not quite phase 2, it's a mixture of phase 2 and phase 3. Phase 2 is when he takes control of the board. Because at the moment, he's the shareholder, he's piggybacking on Owen's shares in the football club, but he doesn't actually control. The board of directors controls what happens at the football club, and the board of directors at the moment is still Owen, Natalie, and Casper Sparpins suspended. So there's only effectively, I don't think there's any more on the board, so there's only the 2 board members, so they control the bank accounts, they control what actually happens to today's match. I don't know whether Owen's going to be there. I believe he's not still in the country. But if he turns up, he's the owner of Blackpool Football Club as it stands. So when he takes, what he'll do when he takes control of the board, he will appoint people. We know there's going to be a CEO. We believe there may be a finance director sitting alongside him. We may also find there's a general manager. They'll take control of the board and they will vote the Oystons off. Now, at that point, they're then in a position to make the decisions that need to be made in the best interest of Blackpool Football Club. And the first one of those decisions is to take control of the bank accounts. Because when they take control of the bank accounts, we can then give everybody the green light to start buying tickets. Because we will then know that nobody can physically go to that bank account and take money out. Because whilst they're ring-fenced for football, they're not frozen. So, and this is where there's been some confusion this week, because when you have a frozen bank account, you can't take money out. When it's ring-fenced, it means that it's intended for a purpose, it's to be used just for football, but if you take the money out, it's just a contempt of the order, it's a breach of the order, but it's too late, isn't it? If somebody takes £100,000 out of the bank account and takes that to Spain, they've done it. All you can do is go to the court and say they shouldn't have done that, and the court can take action against them. But they've got physical possession of that money, and this is the reason why BST, and after the initial discussions with the receiver, with the other fans groups, effectively have said, don't start buying tickets. And unfortunately, that's why we're not back today. Nothing to do with wanting to organise marches, nothing to do with wanting to put obstacles in the way. It's all about what Paul Cooper's told us, and he said it to Christine and I on Monday, and what he said to, and I'm sure the other fans groups will confirm it, what he said to Matt, it's all consistent. It's not you can do what you want. Of course, he's not going to stop you buying a ticket. You can do what you want, but if you do it, it has to be with the knowledge that the money may not end up in the football club more than a few days or whatever, and before he takes control. So once he takes control of the board, he will then take operational control as well. This is a mix of phase 2 and phase 3. And taking operational control of the board will mean that he will then start paying wages, he'll start organising security, he'll hire and fire. I think it's fair to say he's indicated that the people who work in the football club, no jobs are at risk, other than anybody who's obstructive. So there's no intention to remove anybody from the playing side, to interfere with the playing side. He's there effectively, which is into phase 4, to prepare the club for sale. That's his role, and he will not take a complete back seat, but he will step back and let the CEO, the people who are supporting him, and more importantly, the manager and his assistants get on with the job that they're employed to do. He will probably have some involvement with the EFL, because obviously all our concerns are what is the impact of the 12-point deduction if it's to be applied. We should have an indication of that sometime in March. If it's not done by, I think, the 20th of March, then it goes into next season, potentially. So those are the 4 phases that we're going to see. I don't see a change of ownership before the end of the season. I think he thinks he's going to be in here for 3 months at least, and that's because he's got to untangle the web of intercompany loans and get everything on an even keel to satisfy the EFL that Blackpool is an operating company that can stand its corner, isn't going to run the risk of going into insolvency. Subject to him doing that, hopefully we won't get the deduction. And then effectively, almost like create a prospectus for sale, he's going to have to say, this is what you're buying, these are the liabilities, because there's ongoing liabilities to pay contracts and things of that nature. These are the assets, this is what the income streams are. Hopefully we're back showing that it's a viable business. And I suspect over the summer is where we'll see a change of ownership. There's already been plenty of interest. What he needs to do is sort the wheat from the chaff. What we want to try and make sure is that that might be where we're not quite in line with Paul. We want to make sure it's the right owner for us. That's what we want, and we will do all that we can. And I talk about it collectively here, not we'll do all we can to make sure that that next owner of Blackpool Football Club is the right owner for Blackpool Football Club. But we don't have the ultimate say on that. That will be Paul in the short term, initially, and the court. The court will be the one who will say yes, that's the sale to go through. Because as night follows day, Owen will object to any sale to anybody. So you can guarantee court approval will be required. We might get him trying to appeal the decision. I think everybody pretty much knows how much our appeals work now, but for those who don't, you can't just appeal. You can't get a hearing for an appeal. You've got to apply for permission. And the permission stage, he has 21 days to lodge the appeal. His barrister didn't apply, which he had an opportunity to do on the hearing, which gives us an indication as to what he might have thought about the merits of the appeal. Marcus Smith has exercised his discretion. He's entitled to do that. He's an experienced judge. He knew what he was doing. He went through all the case law. He didn't give Cliff a chance everything that he wanted. And he's limited the receivership to the football club, which is in our best interest. Because if the receivership had been over everything, and Windike got sold first, or Home Farm got sold first, the 25 million might have been paid off. And then the receivership would have come to an end, and Blackpool would still been in the hands of Owen Oyston. So, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, we owe the Gooners one because Marcus Smith is an Arsenal fan, and I think he put football first in that order that he made. That was my perception of it, and I'd like to think that at the back of his mind, he was thinking about us. He's seen the passion in the courtroom. He's seen the impact of the boycott. There was pages in the trial bundles for the hearing last week, which had pictures of not a penny more and the empty stands. It was all before the court. We didn't always hear it all, but it was all before the court. That's basically it. It's exciting times. There's going to be some periods of uncertainty. There's an inherent risk, and that we can't ignore it, that it comes up with £25 million. And if that happens, the receivership will end. There's no point in hiding away from that fact. But we can take some solace, I think, from the fact that if that was going to happen, you would have thought he's had 15 months to pay that £25 million. If he was going to pay it, he would have paid it then. So we're not out of the woods yet. The priority for now is to get us to the point where we can return against Southend. That isn't a foregone conclusion, but it's looking good. I'd like to think by Tuesday, Wednesday next week, we will have a very good steer on whether we're back for Southend. So everything has to be caveated by the fact that Owen could do this, and there could be some googlies thrown at the receiver, between now and when he takes phase 2 and phase 3 through to the point where we can buy our tickets. So patience is required, but I don't think we're going to have to wait too long. Okay? Oh, and just one thing, the receiver did stress on Thursday, and those who were there